to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Hello and welcome to the MMA Fan Show. I am Blake Harrison and joining me as always is Stu Griffin. It's because we've been doing Borat.
I know.
Now it's gone that way. Yeah.
Recorded a little episode earlier with Kerry.
We did.
Affectionately, you referred to her as
my wife. Yeah. So we just did that. So I don't know if that's out yet, but if it's not, it's coming your way. And if it is out, go and check it out. We talked about kind of losing your spouse or partner to MMA fandom. And we spoke about that. And we also had some really lovely comments and funny little stories come in from you, the viewers, the listeners.
Because it's not easy being an MMA fan, is it? You know, certainly in the UK, because aside from our beloved Cage Warriors and I guess Octagon, but I guess, you know, your premium UFC, it's generally silly o'clock in the morning. So it does mess with your weekend. But I know you love it. So,
but also there's the long-suffering partners of those people. It's bad enough for us, but at least we get the joy of watching the fights and enjoying it.
True.
And then we've got, partners, spouses, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
Having to deal with either the kids or you waking them up at 4 a.m. shouting and
fuck Rose at the top of my voice.
So we talk about all of that. So if you haven't seen that yet, please go and check that out. But today we've got a special episode.
Yes, we have,
because we're doing your top 3 favourite fights. Now, before we get into that. If you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, please do. Please subscribe. That really helps us out. And leave us a nice little comment. Join us on the socials, Instagram, TikTok, where it's all kicking off, and X. Join us there. And, do all of that stuff. Help us out, guys. Send us your comments. We like to hear from you as well. Because
we love them comments. Like, Stu and Blake are my favourite father-son presenting combo. Thanks for that, guy. It's really good. Just what my elderly bones needed to hear.
How's your ego after that? Is it all right?
Oh, do you know what? It fucking cracked me up. When I see that, I was like, oh, you funny bastard. It did make me laugh. So if you're listening or watching, cheers, brother. Yes, so subscribe because, you've missed maybe... I don't know, 8, 9 episodes we've recorded in this new studio?
Oh, I don't know, I've lost count.
But some of them episodes included the wonderful Michael Venom Page. He come into the studio and we sat down with MVP just before the big UFC announcement. We've had British heavyweight boxing superstar in the making, Johnny Fisher, who he's just announced his big fight out in Vegas. So big love to Johnny Bosh Fisher.
Also, my favourite episode of the year, the predictions episode.
Yes.
I love where we predict our champions for the end of 2024. So, you know, if you're someone that's like, oh, that episode's old, I don't want to watch that. No, this will be viable to watch for the next year. It's like, 2024, who's going to be the champs at the start of 2024? Yeah. Both made our predictions, so go and check that out if you haven't as well.
But right now, it's all about me. It's all about me. Jesus. And my favourite fights. So...
I know what these are, and some of them are real... eyebrow raisers, and I just I think we're starting from a safe place,
right?
We're starting where I think most people, this has been one of, if not their favourite point at some point in time. What's your first fight in your top 3 favourite fights?
So at number 3, I'm going to go Rory versus Robbie 2.
Yep.
So
this is standard UFC 189.
Yes, absolutely, and I'm for the championship fight. And I know when we first started the podcast and we had a fight or flight episode, we had the lovely Laura Checkley from King Gary. Laura come on and we made her watch this fight, didn't we?
No, we didn't.
Did she watch Zhang?
She watched Joanna versus Zhang. This was Thomas Turgoose, I believe.
Tomo watched that, didn't he?
I think Thomas Turgoose watched this fight.
Good shout.
From This Is England.
Yes.
He came on, he watched this fight with us, and we need to get him do some more fight or flights. Now that hopefully we've opened up the Zoom situation in the studio, we can get back to doing some of that. That'd be great. But Thomas Turgoose watched this. It at one point was my favourite fight. It has been surpassed, but at one point this was my favourite fight. But talk to us about why it's in your top 3.
So I've been reading sort of comments on this fight just to kind of get a bit of a sort of mixture of opinion on it, because I guess most people regard it as one of the greats.
I think it has to be up there, yeah.
Now, is it regarded as one of the greats? Because a lot of people said that like the first few rounds aren't that exciting. Now, the first round is much the same as, I would guess, a huge amount of MMA fights. People are working each other out.
Yes.
You know, they're working out their distance and such and timing. And so what you don't get is loads, really, you know, in that first round. I think sort of Rory's trying to establish his jab a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't think sort of Lawler managed to sort of close the distance particularly well in that first round. I think this fight is loved for so many reasons. And we'll get to the face-off at the end of the fourth round.
Oh, my God.
Because yeah. So anyway, the second round, Robbie comes out, and I think he's time to sort of like get things moving a little bit more, and the exchanges then start to get a lot more exciting, and then Robbie opens up Rory with a cut, and I think that was the round where Robbie found his momentum and his timing, and then it takes us into the third, and for me, Robbie's combinations were just having a real devastating effect. And
well, Rogan's got that great line, hasn't he? Rory's face is a mask of blood.
Yeah.
And it's just his face, even at the end of round 2 and then opened up again in round 3.
Yeah.
Rory McDonald's face is all over the shop.
Yeah. Yeah. But at the end of the third round, Rory just lands that massive head kick.
Well, yeah, he spams them almost.
Yeah.
He does like 3 almost in a row, doesn't he? And he catches him at the end.
And Robbie sort of takes a sort of stumble back
Yeah.
and then onto the cage, and then literally Rory just fucking tees off until the bell.
Flying knee, yeah.
Flying knee, yeah.
Yeah.
Which potentially...
Look at that photo. That's unreal. That encapsulates part of this fight.
Yeah.
It is great.
If you're not watching this episode, you should do, because the pictures on the screen are insane. And then what's brilliant is the buzzer goes at the end of the third, and Robbie, you know, has been brutally bashed up at the end of that last sort of 30 seconds.
Yeah.
He just laughs. He just laughs and walks back to his corner, putting his hand above his head like he's sort of swinging a lasso. It's absolutely surreal. Then we get to the fourth, and this is the round. This is the round because it felt like Rory come out as a man that felt he was literally seconds away from winning that championship.
And that's how the first minute and a bit or 2 minutes went, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And he was just unloading.
Big John's having a close look at that point. Rory's got him up his head. And Big John McCarthy is there looking at Robbie as if to say, this might be stopped in a second.
Well, you say that in the fourth because everybody's looking at Rory's face, and it wasn't until the end of the fight, but it's in that fourth round that Robbie's lip, which is one of the most brutal cuts in the history of the sport.
Yeah,
like when you see him, we'll get to it at the end. But I mean, despite being rocked, he stayed the course, Lawler, in this, and basically it just continued with that. I think Rory sort of dominating that round. And then bang, Big John steps in, end of the round, and you just get what I think. Argue with me.
Okay,
is one of the most iconic moments in the history of the UFC.
Well, I certainly can't argue with it. It really is just such a phenomenal moment in that end of that fourth round because, as you say, Rory looks like he could finish him early in that round. The momentum shifts in this fight were phenomenal. That's, I think, one of the things that makes a great fight for me sometimes is when there's shifts of momentum, you think it's going one way and then it goes another way. And at the end of round 2, it looks like Robbie's got Rory's face all over the shop.
Yeah.
3, halfway through, Rory comes back, nearly finishes him. 4, the start of the rounds, Rory nearly finishes him. At the end of 4, again, the momentum shifts back to Robbie, and then you get this stare down. Robbie just spits blood. The canvas, it's like it's been raining blood in there. The canvas is just spattered with blood. It's all over the shop. And, and I think this stare down, not that he did it, I think, necessarily in a conscious way to win the fight. I think it was just an emotional moment from Robbie where he went, come on then, let's go. And I think almost from that point you can see where this fight's going to go. And as they come out for that 5th round, Robbie is looking like a maniac. He could go another 5 rounds, Robbie, it looks like at this point. And Rory looks like, oh, God.
It felt to me that at the end of that 4th, Rory had thrown everything at that fight.
Yeah.
And he's still looking at a fucking maniac staring back at him.
Yeah.
And in that 5th, like, it just something put a rocket up Robbie's arse. And he just went out looking for that knockout.
Yeah.
And you watch the shots on Rory's nose. It's clearly his nose is broken. God, I don't know how badly, but oh my God. And it's not even a big shot that finishes the fight.
No.
It's
an accumulation on what is it? That nose was probably broken from round 2.
Yeah.
So amazing from Rory to carry on in the manner in which he did.
To have a broken nose and have ruthless Robbie Lawler constantly smashing you on it. And he just literally drops to his back, really, or onto his arse, and he just literally just holding his face. He's not out, he's just in absolute agony. And oh my God! And then you see this sort of celebration here that we've got on the image here of Robbie just. Oh my God! He's screaming, but
the lip is so hard to look at.
There's like an inch tear on his lip, and it's unbelievable. And then this photo for me just sums it up. I mean, it's if you're not watching, it's Robbie as obviously they've both gone to hospital to get checked out because they're both obviously smashed to smithereens, and it's just Robbie with his arm around Rory, and I mean Robbie's been stitched up, and my God, Rory McDonald's face. I mean, he's got some clamp, I presume, just holding his nose together.
Oh God!
And his eyes are just shut because the pounding that his face took, and to be honest, I don't think Rory McDonald was ever the same fighter after that.
No, I don't think he was
Rory
either.
McDonald.
Me too.
I thought he was, everyone said he was the new breed of fighter at the time. He was, that generation that were coming through as a well-rounded mixed martial artist rather than somebody that was, a boxer or a BJJ that had sort of then tried to learn the other disciplines. They were saying he's the next generation. And he very much was. He was such an exciting fighter to watch. Obviously, things went up and down. He won the strap at Bellator, didn't he? I believe he did.
Yes, I believe he did. Yeah, I think he did win. And then he went up in weight, didn't he, to try and take on Mousasi, and he lost.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened.
And just an absolute killer. And again, I think Robbie was the underdog in this fight as well. What was this? Maybe 5 or 6 fights into new Robbie Lawler returning to the UFC.
Yeah.
And
who did he beat? Who's the guy that looks like a trucker? And he went up in weight to fight Jimi Hendrix.
Johnny Hendricks.
Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah,
the Watchtower.
It's a great fight against the Foxy Lady.
Oh man!
I'm so happy that you've done that, not me.
I knew exactly who I was talking about as well.
So he fought the Voodoo Child,
yeah. He sort of fought the Voodoo Child, and then he had like the Condit fight, didn't he? And I'm trying to remember if there was another one in between, and then obviously he's got the McDonald 2 fight, which was just mental. And all his fights were just incredibly exciting at the time as well. I mean, I think Justin Gaethje probably gives him a run for his money, if not overtakes him in terms of most exciting fighter. But that stretch for Robbie leading up to the Tyron Woodley knockout, I don't think... I'm trying to think, has there been a more exciting run as a champion? And then my brain says Charles Oliveira. But it's up there as one of the most exciting championship runs because there's been better champions. There's been more longer reigning champions, but they have boring fights thrown in. Adesanya, John Jones, Demetrius Johnson, they're not always in these epic battles because they're so good.
The stats here say that since returning to the UFC, he had gone 6-1, including a win over Jimi Hendrix. To win the belt, and he did come in an underdog, but oh my God, absolute fan favourite, Robbie Lawler,
phenomenal.
Okay, right. Should we move on to my next favourite fight?
I don't know. I mean, I just think that. Oh, you've pulled it up already. I was going to go and say that hospital photo, just so iconic of like the beauty of MMA and how you can have that destruction and then the kind of sportsmanship afterwards. And that was the first one of those I think I really saw, and it's led on to so many others. And then you drop this bombshell on me that your other fight in your top 3 fights ever. Mm-hmm. Do you want to announce it? Luke
Riley versus Alexander Aloof in Cage Warriors. Cage Warriors 160 in November last year. Fighting at 145. What shocks you about this?
I think, look, let me pull up some of my notes here on the fight, because when you first said this to me, I was like, is he having a laugh?
Right.
Because when we think about best fights ever, I'm thinking about fights that are happening at the highest level. Mm-hmm. And I think, with all due respect, and I hope it doesn't come across in a bad way, to Luke and Alex, I just think a 5-0 guy and a 7-0 guy, or whatever they were at the time, that's not the pinnacle of the sport. That's not the top
that doesn't
guys.
Make it a good or bad fight.
No, I know it doesn't, and I know that, but I think, look, I don't know. To me, I'm just like, for me, when I'm thinking about the greatest fights of all time, I'm not thinking about guys that have had that few fights.
Yeah.
And as a fan, you can still watch it, and obviously, and I have to say, having rewatched the fight, I do get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal fight. It's loads of fun. And again, it's got what to me is one of the best things, one of the key ingredients to make a fight an all-time great fight, and that is momentum shifts. I want a story to be told. Yeah. And in this, it had that. It had those momentum shifts, which I love. But I just feel like there's so many other... when I think of momentum shifts, I think... Yuri Prochazka, Glover Teixeira.
Yeah, look.
I mean, and that's at the highest level for a UFC title. And that's why, to me, when there's a UFC title on the line, the Champions League of MMA, those always will leapfrog fights that are just like prelim fights or whatever, maybe wrongfully. Like, was it Sadikov versus Borshev is one of my favourite fights of last year. Phenomenal fight that happened, I think, on the prelims of a card. But I just think there's the top end of the division.
No, I disagree.
Go on. Talk,
disagree.
It's your pick.
So when I looked at this, look, Shogun versus Hendo, right?
Yep.
Unreal. Gustafsson Jones, unreal.
Yeah.
You know, these are like fights that have blown my mind, and so many, Aspinall Pavlovich. That's not a top fight of all time. But so what I'm basing this on, right, is how it felt to me, right? When I watched these fights, just literally being, oh my God, I just don't want this to stop. This is unbelievable. Irrelevant of championships, organisations. I love Cage Warriors. Right?
Yeah, I love Cage Warriors.
And I've been championing Luke Riley for a long time. For those that don't watch Cage Warriors, he fights at a next gen with Paddy and Molly, and his fight style is so exciting. It's so exciting. His striking's unreal. His chin is fucking ridiculous. His
chin is mental. He gets hit with some crazy shots in this fight. I don't know what his chin is made of, but yeah, you're right. That is, the durability of that young man is phenomenal.
And that's tested very early on in this fight. In the first round, his iron chin eats head kicks, flying knees.
Yeah.
And it's just, the rest of the fight, it's all stand-up. It's all stand-up pretty much. They're just literally...
Well, of course you love that. You're Mr. Stand-em-up, aren't you?
I do like my stand-up. Yeah. And it's just... They're just exchanging combinations, and it's so exciting because they're not even that wild. They're so precise, and the speed of Luke Riley's hands is ridiculous. But at the end of that first round, Luke Riley is cut, and then just unloads, and I don't know. I think potentially Luft may have took that first round, What did you think?
I wasn't scoring it.
Okay,
I was just enjoying it. But I think maybe, I mean, for me, I was watching it just kind of going, I can't believe Stu has picked this as a top 3 fight.
Well,
and by the end of the fight, I was like, I wouldn't pick this as a top 3 all-time ever fight, but I can see where you're coming from. Like, if you were like...
Dude, look at that picture.
No, I know, it's insane.
End of the first round.
It's insane.
Just drops like...
But like, if you are like... you can't, say you were out with your mates and you come home and you're like... some of them don't watch MMA and you just want to show them some epic fight or whatever. Yeah. This is a great fight to throw on.
So what stops that from being a great?
No, I'm saying you've sort of won me round from me watching it, but I couldn't. I reckon I could pick, I don't know, like 8 fights that have got higher stakes that are equally as exciting, and that therefore makes it slightly lesser to me.
Stakes for what? They're both both undefeated, and they're
stakes for the highest position in the sport. Yeah, but again. The level of this, that I would love to see Luke Riley do phenomenally well in the UFC. I feel like you're going to try and put me in a corner and paint me as this like Luke Riley hater. I think Luke Riley is phenomenal. Yeah. Really think he's a great fighter. I really want to see where his career goes. He's putting on absolutely phenomenal, exciting fights. But there is a world in which both these men get into the UFC and don't quite make it into the rankings or don't quite make it ever to a title shot. And for me, when I'm picking greatest ever fights, I think sometimes that needs to include men or women that are some of the greatest ever in their divisions. And so that you know that when something's happening or someone's getting the upper hand, it's not just because someone's cardio has gone. It's not because they're inexperienced. It's because they're that damn good to have done that to someone else. So when you look at Adesanya versus Gastelum, and I know that Gastelum, I don't think he's ever been the same since that fight.
Very nearly made my pick.
But that is a phenomenal fight. Prohajka versus Glover Teixeira. Yeah. Wow, what a fight. I mean, for Yuri to submit Glover in round 5, are you kidding me? What a story that is. I mean, even more recently, you can look at, pretty much any fight for Justin Gaethje, but also Moreno and Figueiredo, Moreno and Pantoja recently. I mean, these are the highest level, and they sometimes as well will incorporate all aspects of the martial arts. And that is where I start to go, okay, that's the greatest. That's the level for me. Yeah. So,
Nathaniel Wood's fight in Cage Warriors is one of the most wildest fights I've ever seen as well. It's just great because Riley drops him at the end of the first round. Second round, he just eats a head kick, Riley, and gets dropped, and Luft takes his back, and he gets up into another flying knee and then gets kicked in the head again. And our guy, Brad Walton, literally quotes, "What is this kid made of?"
Yeah, he's not wrong.
And then Riley literally just starts throwing crazy strikes. And Luft, I think, has blown himself out at this point. And I don't know what goes on in them corners with them next-gen boys, but whatever they said to Luke Riley in that break before the third round, he come out looking so fresh and just literally throws barrage after barrage of lightning-fast hands and just gets the stoppage. And he's thrown everything at that stoppage because he sort of runs to the cage, but then takes about 15 minutes to get up it and over it. And he doesn't sit at the top with his hands in the air. He sort of falls down. And there's obviously Paddy and I think that's Liam Gittins there.
Yeah. And Molly's there as well.
Molly's there. And basically he just literally sort of folds into sort of Paddy's arms and Molly's. And I just love watching them next gen fighters. I think whatever they're doing at that gym at the moment, it's exciting, and I think that gym is at the one of the ones at the forefront of the UK MMA scene, and we've seen it with Molly and Paddy taking it to the world stage, and I think we're going to see Luke Riley in the UFC pretty damn soon, because you watch fights like that. If you're, any of the people at the UFC that are, I'm sure Graham Boylan is saying to them fellas that are over the UFC, you need to watch this kid because he is all fireworks. And that's what you want to see when. And for Cage Warriors, we've just seen that they've said, is that fight of the year? They've then gone on to say, is it the greatest Cage Warriors fight of all time? No arguments from me. I think it's absolutely fantastic.
It is. And as I say, I sort of went into this thinking, how have you gone with this fight over so many big title fights in the UFC and stuff like that? But after watching it, I am way more understanding of why you've done this, because it is such an entertaining fight from start to finish. It is all action. It never relents, and it is a phenomenal fight. So you've sort of brought me round, but
I want to mix it up because I could have gone with the obvious ones, and I know Robbie and Rory is very much in everybody's,
but rightfully so.
And I want, absolutely. But I thought, you know what, I want to, because we love Cage Warriors, and I want to just be championing that next generation. No pun intended there. The next generation of fighters coming through that we're going to see in the UFC. And I just watched that fight, and I've watched it maybe 3 or 4 times, and every time I watch it, I'm just engrossed in it. It's so exciting.
It is.
And I love that. So, my next one...
Hang on, there's one thing.
Go on.
Even just talking to you about it and your passion for this fight sort of makes me go, yeah, go on then, stick it in your top 3. But do you know what it also makes me do? Having watched this fight and hearing your passion for it as well, it just makes me go, can we please book Luke Riley versus Harry Hardwick? Can we please do that? Because that would be absolute carnage.
Fucking hell.
I would love that so much. And I think both of them, if they perform to their best abilities, should just both get UFC contracts regardless of who wins and who loses. Because it's just, what a fight that would be. The featherweight division in Cage Warriors for a long time, to me, feels like it's sort of like their marquee division. It's like, Charrier's obviously moved on to UFC. Paul Hughes, has he signed for the UFC yet? Paul Hughes?
Yet.
We don't know.
Charrier's got a fight announced.
Charrier's got a fight announced, I know that. But, the
Vucenic got another fight. And
Kalen Loughran. But sticking with featherweight, Charrier, I know, has gone now, but Paul Hughes, we don't know what's going on there. I think his last fight was at lightweight or whatever, so we don't know what's going on with him, but he was a big part of that Cage Warriors featherweight division. Jordan Vucenic, Harry Hardwick, was it James Hendon as well? Now you got Luke Riley and Luft putting on performances like that. I mean, what a division. That Cage Warriors featherweight division is absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, while we're talking Cage Warriors, I'm going to throw it in there. Cage Warriors, he's coming to Essex, he's coming to Grays, it's coming to my hometown. It's the Cage Warriors Academy, and it's coming in April of this year. I believe it's April. Is it April? No, I'm questioning myself. We'll put the links in the bio. But, so there's all the fighters are going to be 10 minutes from this studio. So hopefully we'll catch up with a few of them and have some chats ahead of that event, Cage Warriors, Grays at the Civic Hall. My number 1?
Oh, so you've actually done this in order? Or is it just you just top 3? Or is this in order?
I guess this is probably the fight that I've watched the most and the fight that blew my mind the most ever.
Go on then, mate. Announce it for the listeners.
It's Ronda Rousey versus Holly Holm.
This is another interesting choice, Stu. I don't know. This is an interesting choice.
Oh, dude.
It's... I think my reaction with you picking this fight is that...
Because I sent you this one first and you was like, dude, I wish you hadn't sent me this. My reaction would have been insane.
The thing is I think objectively, not even an opinion, but an objective fact, is that this isn't even the greatest women's MMA fight of all time.
I mean, there's Zhang and Joanna.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why is this better than that to you?
Right. Because at the time, like, Ronda was the biggest star in the UFC, one of the biggest stars, certainly the most, the most famous.
I think at one point she was the biggest.
Absolutely.
Before Conor had quite made his rise, she, as we've discussed on the show, she was on like the Ellen Show, which was huge. It was mainstream TV. Not many fighters, even if they're John Jones, Israel Adesanya, people like that, get to go on like the late night talk shows or the daytime shows like Ellen and stuff like that. She was on that. She was a superstar.
And what was weird was, like, I think we saw a lot of Ronda on the lead up to the Miesha Tate fight on the Ultimate Fighter that kind of gave you an insight into, I don't know, she didn't really endear herself to me. Like, I started to think that she wasn't particularly nice.
She didn't like Miesha, did she?
She did not like Miesha.
And Miesha, to me, came across really nice and quite funny.
And for some reason, she really didn't like Holly Holm.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about.
And I don't know what that was about. And because I guess everybody knew Holly from her boxing and kickboxing as well. And at this point, it's so important to highlight, Ronda was taking everybody out in a round.
There's a great...
It was Mike Tyson type thing. Like when Tyson come through on a tear, nobody was getting out of them early rounds. It was like, no one is going to stop this. And like Ronda just looked like, once she's got you, you're on the floor, you're done.
Can I just throw a stat out there?
Go on.
In the build-up to this fight, Ronda had 3 title defences, not just fights, but 3 title defences taking on the number one woman every time. And she did those 3 title defences in a combined 64 seconds. That's mental, isn't it?
What was that? Bethe
Correia.
Yeah. Maybe
Kat Zingano.
Yeah.
Because I remember Kat just ran at her and fell into an armbar, and you're like, what was that?
Yeah.
I don't know who the other one was. I can't remember who the other one was, but I'm pretty sure it was Kat Zingano, Bethe Correia, and someone else.
And
I don't think it would have been Miesha. Miesha didn't get finished that quick, did she?
No.
No, Miesha was more of a tougher fight.
It was just... I loved Holly Holm, and it was so... I mean, it was only Holly's 3rd fight in the UFC, and she's fighting...
She was ranked 7th.
Yeah. And I just... In the press conference, she was just a bit of an arse. And then I know you got to get your fight face on and you got to get your head where you need to get your head. And then literally when they face off before the first round, Holly is looking, I wouldn't even say confident. She looks a bit nonplussed with the whole thing. It all looks a little bit, wow, what's going on? This is huge. Composed, that's a great shout. And she finishes composed as well. We'll get on to that. But Holly puts her hands out, touch gloves, Ronda just walks away, and it's oh, man, I don't like that, man. No. I just don't like it.
I think it was sort of part of the Ronda personality. It was like, you are my enemy.
Yeah.
It's like I kind of feel like Ronda, and I might be wrong, but seemed to be someone that took everything personally. It was never business, it was never a sport. It was, you're coming to take something away from me, and I hate you for it. That was the vibe it felt like as a fan watching.
When you watch them docs about a relationship with her mum and that's got competing at that highest level of judo.
She was a bronze medalist, wasn't she? Yeah.
You can see where that might come from. But I mean, it was all a waste of time and effort. She should have been a bit nicer because literally from the off, Ronda Rousey looks... Holly's footwork, she's almost running around the octagon at times, and her movement was the first time that I think Ronda's faced anybody with that level of footwork, and she did not know how to deal with it. You do, quite early on, Ronda gets her, clinches her, and I remember at that time thinking, oh, well, there you go, that's it.
Yep.
And Holly just pushes her off and treats her to an head kick on the break. And quite early on in that first round, Ronda's sort of flat-footed and looks quite tired. And again, she manages to sort of judo throw her. Holly gets out of it quite comfortably. And I think you're seeing Ronda now looking frustrated because she's like, oh, hang on a minute. And then Holly just starts letting that right hand go. And it's like, pop. and it's like pop, and everyone is on the button, and no one's done this to Ronda at this point. You're seeing like stuff for the first time, and that for me, I was like, oh my God, like she's going to get to the end of the first round, and not only is she going to, she's like beating her comfortably, and it was just so good, and them right hands were just lighting her up, and then the buzzer goes. Ronda throws a cheap shot right on the buzzer as well, and it's like...
It is a bit late.
It is late, and it was like... And then you see her, Ronda go to the corner. No one's going to, like, Holly's corner. Straight away, they're going to go to the superstars' corner. And it was Firas, wasn't it? A trainer, Firas?
No.
I'm trying to remember his name.
Not Faraz Zahabi. That's GSP and Arnold Allen's coach. Oh, God. Sarukian. Not Sarukian.
But anyway.
Armand Tavarian?
Right. Oh, okay. And he's just going, beautiful, that's beautiful. And it's like, it weren't fucking beautiful. Like, your fighter just got lit up. And there was nothing, like, she just wasn't taking her head off the centre line. Everything about it, for a boxer of Holly's standard, it was just, it looked like almost easy work. And it comes out in a second, and Ronda's like looking just as exhausted, and she's chasing her, and she looks desperate. And you think, oh my God, and you just see Holly on her feet, and it's like, oh, this is so beautiful to watch. And then you do that moment where like Ronda flies in, Holly just pivots, and you just see Ronda go to her knees and bash into the cage, and it's like, what are we seeing here?
That was the moment, wasn't it? I have to say, rewatching this fight made me feel more appreciation for Ronda, oddly, because my memory of the fight was just that Holly just smashed her to pieces, and she sort of did.
Yeah.
But also, I didn't remember moments where Ronda actually got her to the ground at one point, but Holly was able to escape. Got her in a clinch at a couple of points, and Holly was able to escape. I'd forgotten those couple of moments. But it was, for all intents and purposes, like kind of one-way traffic. But that moment there that you just mentioned where Ronda swings a big wild hook and Holly just ducks underneath it, and Ronda, as you say, goes down on one knee and stumbles almost against the cage, just made you go, oh, this is now insurmountable for Ronda. There's no way, shape or form that she can now win this fight, because she is so levels below this woman in terms of her stand-up game. And it's a huge moment, actually.
And I'd never seen her look so vulnerable.
No.
And she just looked, it was almost embarrassing, because the levels in it was like, you're looking at what everybody thought.
That sounds horrible to say, and it's still amazing, but I can see what you mean, because she was sort of showing up. For Holly to duck that punch and her sort of almost fall over, it's slightly embarrassing.
And again, I chose this fight because for the whole of it, I was like, oh my God, what am I watching? And then you just see Holly throw that straight left.
Oh, we've got the image of it up here.
And then she sort of drops her to her knees, and as she's getting up, you just see like Holly throw that left kick, shin to chin, and boom, she's down. And it was fucking head kick dead. And obviously you just see Holly sort of swarm her, and very quickly, Herb's in there. And then you say that composed that we spoke about in the face-off. You see Holly run away to kind of go crazy because she's just beaten the greatest at that point, and she's just won the strap. And she kind of goes to explode, and then goes and calms herself, and then walks around there. And you just think, that says so much about her. And
she tried to go down to her knees and sort of have a moment with Ronda as well.
And
I think
again, look at her face.
Yeah, mate, she's just been knocked out. Like, I don't think you can.
Do you know what?
I don't have any problem with after the. I mean, when someone's been knocked out, I think they can be forgiven for all sorts, because it's just like your brain's not working properly at that point in time.
I just did not like generally how unsportsmanlike Ronda was in the lead up to it and after it. Holly Holm does genuinely seem like a really lovely human being.
Yes, she does.
Looking at Dana White's face there, you can see he's just thinking, oh, fuck, I've just lost the poster girl for the organisation. Yeah. And obviously we did see Ronda come back and get lit up again. And I think what this showed was, what again made it so exciting for me was when you see somebody's fight style that's so effective get found out.
Yes.
And somebody, and credit to, it was Winklejohn and Wink
Winklejohn, Jackson Wink.
And Greg Jackson, like having them like just study tape and just go, this is how we do this. Yeah. And my God, what a fight plan, because it was executed perfectly to the fact that it looked like, I don't even know if Holly ate a shot. Like, she just
not really
looked so comfortable doing that. And then obviously after that, it was very checkered for Holly Holm. And oh my God,
she was never the same. But I think the sport had begun to evolve
completely.
You know, obviously Holly came in being a world champion boxer and world champion kickboxer. She had a skill set that no one had really had in the UFC up until that point, I don't think. And then
did Misha beat her in the next fight?
Misha did beat her in the next fight. And I think it was a sort of close-ish fight, I think. But my memory was that Holly was going to win it and then she was submitted in the final round.
Yeah.
So it's a shame for Holly to not have been able to defend the belt. But styles make fights. Again, that Misha Tate's wrestling just was a bit too much for her at points, I guess. But then obviously Amanda Nunes came through and became the greatest.
And, I mean, Holly Holm's never ducked a fight. And, oh, my God, Kayla Harrison.
I mean, what an amazing thing. When was this fight? Was it like 2015, 2016? The Holm Rousey fight?
Must have been.
Something like that. So that was a long time ago now. And Holly Holm's still doing it. She's still doing it, at the age of, gosh, what must she be, like 40?
Kayla Harrison, obviously, has just signed to the UFC, and, oh, my God, that is somebody that I wouldn't want coming charging across an octagon.
No. But that's an interesting one. I mean, we maybe can talk about this as, later on if we talk about 300 and all that kind of stuff. But Kayla Harrison coming down at bantamweight is a really interesting thing. Will she be able to make that weight? She fought most of her career at 155. So, but Holly Holm, as you say, game as anything. It's like, yeah, I'll take her on. No problem. Huge name, great wrestler, skill set that is probably not great for me. Big opponent as well. She'll be huge for the weight class. Holly Holm's just like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, that's my top three. And let us know your thoughts. Get commenting below and let us know what your three favourite fights are. I'm sure in the future we will do yours, Mr. Harrison. And yeah, drop us a little message or give us a like and a love over on Instagram and TikTok. We are on X as well, so give us a follow if you don't do so already over there. And when you see this episode drop, then get commenting. Let us know what your favourite all-time three fights are, and let us know if you think I was wrong to put a Cage Warriors fight with Luke Riley in there. And if you haven't watched that fight, I hope I've described it enough that you need to go and watch it, because it is absolutely fantastic. And you can go and watch that over on Fight Pass now, or between me and you, it's on YouTube. You can watch it on YouTube for free. Yes, we're done.
We're done. Bye.
Bye.